be starting our service in just a minute as we're getting settled. Good morning. Welcome to our Earth Day Shabbat service. I hope as you've been here, you've had a chance to listen, to hear the sounds of the birds and some of the outside sounds of nature. As we get settled. For those of you who are streaming the service, you can find the flipbook version of the service and the DAF, which has the Torah and Haftorah services on the Shir Hadash calendar, which has the listing for this service. A number of readings for our service today are not in the prayer book. They will display it on our TV screens and will be visible to those streaming from home. I hope as you came in, you picked up a prayer book and a Chumash, which I'm realizing I don't see out on the table, which will have our Torah and Haftorah portions. Oops. Today is Shabbat and the weekend of Earth Day. As we get comfortable, we feel the earth firm beneath our feet, supporting us as we stand and sit. We recognize the importance of water in our lives, flowing through our bodies in various forms, just as it flows through the earth. We are aware of the air we breathe, the same air that all living beings inhale, now, in the past, and in the future. We take this time together to reflect and rediscover the mystery that lives in us, that is the ground of every unique expression of life, the source of the fascination that calls to all things. We begin our service this morning with the singing of Hine Matov. For those of you who are new to our congregation, we use the blue bracketed numbers at the bottom of the prayer book pages, and we sing Hine Matov rather than Achim, which is all brothers, which we translate as brothers and sisters, all of us together, to Kulam, which is all of us. I'm Linda Allen, and I'll be leading our service, and
I'm Robert Bergman, as the lay cantor this morning. Hine matov umanayim shevet kulam gam yahad. Hine matov umanayim shevet kulam gam yahad. How good it is to be together, together as one in love, joy, and laughter. How good it is to be in this moment together. Kulanu b'chayad. Hine matov umanayim shevet kulam gam yahad. shevet kulam, gam yahad.
We continue with Esa Enai. I have 189. It's at the bottom of page 188.
Maybe you have to use the mic so she can.
Sorry, it's at the Esa Enai on the bottom of page 188.
Esa inai el harim, Esa inai el harim, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri. Me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri. Me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri. Where will my help come from? 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 My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esa enai el harim, Esa enai el harim, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri, me'ayin yavo, yavo ezri. Where will my help come from? 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 My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth.
Today for us is a new day on earth. Let us live it in awe and wonder how everything works. Should trees cease to grow? Should the sun cease to glow? Should our hearts cease to beat? We thank you again and again that our world is complete. I can think, I can breathe, I can hope, I can sneeze, I can laugh, I can cry, I can pray for the wonder of each day, for the strength come what may, for the power to say, blessed are you, God, who has formed humanity with wisdom and commanded us to be stewards of the earth. Be still. Listen. Like you, the earth breathes. You sneeze with the force of a tornado. Wind rockets from your nose quicker than a cheetah sprints. Your breath is alive with the promise of flowers. Each time you blow a kiss to the world, you spread the pollen of love that might grow to be a new plant.
What's next? Elohai neshama shenatata b'tehorahi. 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 Elohai neshama shenatata b'tehorahi.
We continue this morning with the morning blessings on page 200 through 204. We will chant the first line in Hebrew and the second line in English.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Who stretches the earth over the... Oh, sorry, I started on the wrong page. Page 198.
Oh, okay, well, I went to page 200.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
take two. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Who
Praise
has
to
given
you,
the
Adonai,
mind
sovereign of the universe, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes slumbers from the eyes and slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
And Robert's going to continue with a few words of Torah for us this morning.
So when I was thinking about this for Earth Day, I thought I'd reflect on the number 7 in Judaism. So the number 7 marks the beginning and end of many things in our calendar. For example, we have 7 days of the week, 7 days of Pesach, and Sukkot. There are 7 weeks between our Passover Seder and Shavuot, which we'll recognize later in this service with the counting of the Omer. We're also told that Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the 7th month. We also have Shemitah, or the sabbatical year, every 7 years, where we give the earth a break, almost like Shabbat for the earth. We are now in the sabbatical year that we acknowledge today with our Earth Day service.
We join on page 218 for the last 2 lines of Psalm 150. Let all that breathes praise Adonai, hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol neshama tehallel, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol neshama tehallel. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And we continue on page 220 with Ilufinu, recognizing how vast our world is and how small we are as we join in praising God.
Ilufinu male shira, Ilufinu male shira, Ilufinu kayam. Ilufinu male shira, Ilufinu male shira, kayam. Ushonenu nira, kahamon galav. Ulshonenu rina, kahamon galav. Even if our mouths were full of song as the sea, as the sea, and our tongues full of joy in countless waves, countless waves. Ilufinu male shira, Ilufinu male shira, kayam. Ilufinu male shira, Ilufinu male shira, kayam. Kayam. Kayam.
We turn to page 224 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikda v'yikda Shema Rabbah. Balma divrahute v'yamlich mahute. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman kariv, ve'imlu, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam ol me'omaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitamam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha, brichu. Leila minka birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma, ve'imru, amen.
We continue on page 226. Please rise for the Barku if you are able, and remain standing through the Shema.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam vahed. Le'olam vahed. Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da.
Today we know of the energy that moves all things, the oneness of existence, the diversity and uniqueness of every moment of creation, every shape and form, the attraction, the allurement, the fascination that all things have for one another. Humbled by our knowledge, chastened by surprising revelations, with awe and reverence, we come before the mystery of life. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
On page 117, we read responsively. I'm sorry, page 235 in the blue. In the blue. If we can hear the words from Sinai, then love will flow from us, and we shall serve all that is holy with all our intellect and all our passion and all our life. All the children shall eat, and there will be enough. But if we turn from Sinai's words and serve only what is common and profane, making gods of our own comfort or power, then the holiness of life will contract for us. Our world will grow inhospitable. Let us honor the generations that came before us, keeping the promise for those yet to be.
Let us honor the generations that come before us, keeping the promise for those that yet to be.
Slavery is not only a problem of the past. We are slaves to convenience and consumerism when we do not change our habits or speak out for the health of our planet and all its inhabitants. Oh God, help us to see the path to a better way. Help us to be free. We continue with the Michamocha on page 240.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele. Shira Hadash shebechu ge'ulim l'shimcha, asfat hayam yachad kulam, hodu v'himnechu v'hamaru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele. Tzu Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, uvtechimu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kadosh Yisrael. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele.
We turn to page 242 for the tefillah. We will join together for the Avot, Be'imahot, Geburot, and Kedusha, and then continue through page 260, taking time to meditate on the prayers and poems of our prayer book and the prayers of our own hearts. During the silent portion of our prayer, you may choose to watch, listen, and reflect on this gilded land produced by Schola Cantorum. When you are ready to join in communal worship once again, please be seated. Please rise.
Adonai Sfatai, Adonai Sfatai, I'm getting bring whatever. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha ufi yagid Tehilatecha Adonai Svetai Tiftach Adonai Svetai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah El Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Havot V'Himaot U'Mevi La Livnei V'neihem L'ma'an Shemo Be'ava Melech Ozer Mashiach Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Hakak Kol Aktav Rav Le'Hoshia Mechakel Hayim B'Chesed Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umakayem Nemunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Nekadesh 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 et Shimcha Be'olam Nekadesh et Shimcha Be'olam Keshem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Morom Kakatuv al Yad Niviecha V'karazel ze ve'omar Kadosh, Kadosh Adir, Adirenu, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonai, Adonenu, Moadir, Moadir Shimcha, B'chol ha'aretz. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu. Behu yashmienu, Behu yashmienu, Behu yashmienu, Berachamav, Barachamav, Lenei Kochai. Himno Adonai leolam, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ובנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen.
We turn to page 364 for the Torah service. Please rise if you are able as the ark is opened.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai Iti, U'Rama Shemo Yachad. Ramamu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachavu lahar kodsho. Ramamu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ramamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ramemu. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachavu lahar kodsho. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachavu lahar kodsho.
Our Torah portion this morning is Acharei Mot from the book of Leviticus. This is not the Torah portion that talks about Shemitah, unfortunately. I will be chanting this morning from the beginning of the portion. I would like to share with you some of the commentary that my colleague Cantor Jill Abramson, the incoming interim director of the Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music at HUC-JIR, wrote this week for 10 Minutes of Torah. She begins talking about gerotranscendence. The term refers to the urgent search for meaning by elderly individuals, and this theory was developed by Swedish gerontologist Lars Tornstam. Elaborating on Tornstam's theory, geriatric authority Dr. Bill Thomas explains the inner workings of gerotranscendence in a 2011 article which can be found on changingaging.com. And he says, the core of the theory suggests that normal human aging includes a range of vital and commonly overlooked components. There is an increased feeling of affinity with past generations and a decreased interest in superfluous social interaction. There is also often a feeling of cosmic awareness and a redefinition of time, space, life, and death. The individual becomes less self-occupied and at the same time more selective in the choice of social and other activities. Cantor Abramson then says, older individuals redefine their concepts of time and space and life and death because their aging changes their perceptions of those concepts. Death is more apparent, more visible, and more frequent amongst their peers. Suddenly it seems that everyone is dying. The older a person gets, the more people they know who have died. One's own death looms closer as the years go by. She continues, this portion, Acharei Mot, begins with these two words, Acharei Mot. With gerotranscendence in mind, we realize the most important word is not mot, which means death, but the word acharei, which means after. We all encounter death. We all grieve. We mourn. The important question is, what do we do after the death of those around us? How do we live our lives? Our Torah teaches that there is something quite literally acharei mot, after death. The portion begins by noting the deaths of Aaron's son Nadab and Abihu. We know from that portion that Aaron grieved in silence. He continued to lead the people as the priest and worked in conjunction with Moses to lead the people. But this portion, looked at in this way, reminds us that life is not immortal. At some point, we will all die. How we choose to live our lives at this moment in this time can be one way that will help us live longer. Remaining active even in retirement is one way to add on to our longevity. There was also a study called the Longevity Project by researchers Howard Friedman and Leslie Martin. And one of the key markers to health and long life is participation in a congregation. Not necessarily piety or religious belief, but being part of a community of practice. Your participation here this morning, whether Shabbat is your regular practice or you joined us for Earth Day, is one step in our journey to a fulfilling and hopefully a long life. Our Torah portion this morning can be found on page 863. That's in the Chumash, the bigger of the blue books that you have. And
for our first Aliyah, I want to invite everyone who has done something this year in terms of helping to care for our earth, whether you've been writing letters to legislators, whether you've been protesting in the streets, planting a tree, reducing your single-use plastics. Please come and join us for the first Aliyah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamburach,
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe acharei mot shnei bnei Aaron bekoravtam lifnei Adonai veyamutu. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe daber el Aharon achicha ve'al yavo bechol et al hakadosh mi beit laparochet al penei hakaporet asher al haaron velo yamut ki be'anan ira'eh al hakaporet bezot yavo Aharon el hakodesh befar ben bakar lechatat ve'ayil le'olam ketonet bad kodesh yilbash u'michnese vad yiyu al bisaro ve'avnet bad yachgor u'mitznefet bad yitznof bigdei kodesh hem verachat b'mayim et bisaro uvesham ume'et adat b'nei Yisrael yakach shnei seirim izim lechatat ve'ayil lecha le'olam.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Nice to have people up here on the band. We're going to move you on to this side.
For our second Aliyah, I invite all those who are saying Misha Barak for those who are in need of healing, whether it's for yourself or for a loved one.
You can come back if you want to. Here's Sylvia. Come take the part of your toe. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'hikriv Aharon et par hachatat asher lo v'chaper ba'ado uv'ad beito v'lakach et shnei haseirim v'he'amid otam lifnei Adonai פתח אוהל מועד, ונתן אהרון על שני השעירים גורלות, גורל אחד לאדוני, וגורל אחד לעזאזל. Amen. So we take a moment to say a Mishaberach for those who are in need of healing. We'll begin with the beginning of this song. We'll invite you, those of you who are on here, and those of you who are out as well, to recite a name, and then we'll also add those names from our congregation as well. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. So we invite you to share names.
Mira Engels, Susan Gamero,
Joan Picken.
Richard Kennemer, Laura Over-Letwa,
Karen Valentine, Erwin Clark, Max Berkowitz,
Richard Kennemer and Denise Pringle.
Ava Littman.
And we think of those members of our congregation, even including those whose names have already been mentioned: Richard Kennemer, Jack Long, Don Gringorton, Gary Bronstein, Joan Picken, Newt Westergren, Bruce Roberts, Stuart Mass, June Chapman, Mira Engel, Joyce Cordy, Ann Sharon, Gail Frankel, Eric Stone, Dave Stahl, Richard Ravitch, a former member of Shir Hadash, Lauren Janovich, cousin of Joyce Bodick, Fern Bear, sister of Cindy Gordon, Michael Taub, brother of Howard Taub, Lillian Sidlow, mother of Beth Sidlow Mann and mother-in-law of Andrew Mann, Mary Sasso, the sister of Chris Sasso, Oleg Fenelonov, the son-in-law of Ludmila Oisboyd, and Larissa Reifman, a friend of Ludmila Oisboyd. And all those that we name within our hearts, we say, Baruch Atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Ya'amdu Hagmabia v'hagolelet Ya'amo Liron ben Avraham v'Sarah Ta'amo Tova bat Rachel v'Leah. We rise as the Torah is lifted. Lot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe V'zot HaTorah Asher Sam
לפני בני ישראל. אותי אדוני ביד משה. יה לה לה לה
And now it's my pleasure to invite up Carolyn Curlin for our Haftorah reading and introduction.
Brief introduction. Take this off so you can hear me. There we go. When the cantor sent me this Haftorah, the verses for this Haftorah, she said she'd sent the nicer part of the Haftorah portion. If this was the nicer part with descriptions of the filthiness of the people and referring to them as dross, then I could hardly wait to see the parts that were not so nice. This Haftorah portion is all about telling how the prohibitions that God had laid out were ignored, the crimes of the people which God would punish. You'll notice that at the beginning of the verses I will chant, God says, I will scatter you among the nations and disperse you through the countries. But at the end of the portion, Adonai says, I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem. I was hoping maybe this was like other prophecies where God forgives in the end, but apparently I was wrong. Ezekiel's prophecy continues to say God will gather the people in Jerusalem to melt them like silver in a furnace. So really, unfortunately, this is all about punishment, as far as I could tell anyway. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nviei hamet v'tzedek.
Beginning on page 998.
V'hinei hikati kapi el bitzech asher asit ve'al damech asher hayu betochech hayamod libech im techezakna yadayich liyamim asher ani ose otach Ani Adonai dibarti ve'asiti ve'chafitzoti otach bagayim ve'tzeritich ba'aratzot ve'chatimoti tumatech mimech v'nichal be'bach לעיני גויים, וידעת כי אני אדוני. ויהי דבר אדוני אלי לאמור, בן אדם, היו לי בית ישראל להשיג כולם. נחושת ובדיל וברזל ועופרת בתוך כור, שיגים כסף היו. לכן כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, יען היות כולכם לשיגים, לכן הנני קובץ אתכם אל תוך ירושלים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. אמן.
We read together at the bottom of page 376. At the bottom of the bottom paragraph. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Please rise if you are able as we return the Torah to the ark. And now I want to invite my co-chair of the Sustainability Committee up for our drash. Elisa.
Shabbat Shalom. This year, 5782, on Rosh Hashanah, we began a Shemitah year, or a sabbatical year. The rules for the sabbatical year are spelled out a little later in the Torah in Parashat Bachar, which we will read 3 weeks from now. However, in honor of Earth Day, I want to discuss some of the relevant aspects of Shemitah today. In Leviticus chapter 25, verses 2 through 5, we read, "When you enter the land that I assign you, the land shall observe a Sabbath of the Eternal. 6 years you may sow your fields, and you may prune your vineyard, and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath of the Eternal. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. You shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest or gather the grapes of your untrimmed vines. It shall be a year of complete rest for the land." Now, this was hard to do. It took faith that there would be enough food for the Israelites to survive the sabbatical year, but God promised to provide. In the following parasha, Bechukotai, however, we learn that what will befall the Israelites should they not follow these laws. God tells the Israelites, "And you I will scatter among the nations, and I will unsheath the sword against you. Your land shall become a desolation, and your cities a ruin. Then shall the land make up for its Sabbath years throughout the time that it is desolate, and you are in the land of your enemies. It shall observe the rest that it did not observe in your Sabbath years while you were dwelling upon it." Either you give the land a rest and let it regenerate, or you will be forced to do so. It does not take a big leap to see the parallels to events today. If we protect the land and oceans and life upon it and within it, we will be able to reap the abundance and be inspired by its beauty. If we treat the resources of the planet as if they are infinitely available to us by clear-cutting forests, extracting without end, culling fish and animals into extinction without allowing for this regeneration, then we face desolation and destruction of our ecosystems, of the biodiversity of our planet, of our human civilization itself. The Torah is telling us that unless we care for the natural world now, we face disaster in the future. Perhaps the symptoms of climate change we are seeing is the Earth's way of taking back the Shemitah years we have not given it. This past week, we celebrated Pesach and told the story of our liberation from slavery. As part of that story, we recall how God brought plagues upon the Egyptians to force and focus Pharaoh's attention on the need to change his ways, to change his mind. As part of a public climate action this past Wednesday, I recited a different version of the plagues to a crowd waving pieces of matzah. The crowd was calling on the Schmutzy Seven, the 7 financial institutions most responsible for financing fossil fuel extraction, to move their dough away from that industry. I recited the following plagues of global warming and environmental degradation that our society has brought upon itself. I'll recite them for you now. You can recite the Hebrew words after me, and I'll tell you about the environmental plagues. Dam. Blood. Our water is being poisoned by coal ash, oil, and gas pipeline spills, and the chemicals used for hydraulic fracturing. Tzivardea. Frogs. We face destruction of wetlands and the habitat of the plants and animals who live there. Keenim. Lice or vermin. We face the rapid spread of disease-carrying pests, vectors for infectious diseases such as Lyme disease, malaria, Zika, COVID. Arav. Wild animals. Wildfires burn further and longer, consuming everything in their wake, including animals and their habitat. Dever. Pestilence. The loss of biodiversity leading to the extinction of plant and animal species that are critical to the intricate web of life. Shechin. Boils. Punishing heat waves lead to heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and sometimes death. Barad. Hail. We face more powerful storms, hurricanes, and historic flooding than ever before. Arba. Locusts. Crop failures are made worse by climate change-fueled drought, heat, and pests. Choshech. Darkness. Air pollution from oil refineries, petrochemical plants, and other fossil fuel facilities increase the risk of asthma attacks and heart and lung disease. Machat Bechorot. Death of the firstborn. Real lives are at stake, and as is too often the case, all who are most vulnerable, the global poor, children, animals, who have done the least to contribute to the crisis and are suffering the most from it, those on the front line of the climate crisis, Black, brown, indigenous, and low-income communities, they are harmed first and worst. Just as for Pharaoh, these plagues are our wake-up call to action. So what will you do this Shemitah year to give the land a rest, to restore our planet's ecosystem, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to rid the land and water of plastic pollution? Well, there's a lot you can do. First, become a climate activist. One of my favorite climate scientists, Katharine Hayhoe, is fond of saying, to care about climate change, you only have to be one thing: a human being living on planet Earth who wants a better future. Chances are you are already that person, and everyone you know is too. So write, call, raise your voice to legislators, media, friends, and family to support policies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, plastic pollution, food waste. Call for an end to fossil fuel subsidies. These oil companies are making record profits, and yet we are still pouring our federal and state tax dollars to the tune of $20.5 billion a year into oil and gas industry direct subsidies so that they can continue to push life on Earth to the brink. Second, join a climate organization. Here at Shir Hadash, we have our Shir Sustainability Committee, and we could really use your ideas and energy. Additionally, many Shir Hadash members are part of Dayenu.org, a group committed to raising our collective Jewish voices to confront the climate crisis with spiritual audacity and bold political action. Besides those organizations, there are so many effective organizations with whom we collaborate: Interfaith Power and Light, 350.org, Citizens Climate Lobby, the Climate Reality Project, more. All have local chapters that are active and welcoming. Join one that speaks to you. Thirdly, vote, vote, vote. Ask the candidates running for election about their ideas and proposals to address the climate crisis. Ask all of them, from the school board to the Senate. Make climate impact a factor in every purchase decision. Purchase less stuff, and when you do need to buy, take a look at consignment and online resale website. Fifth, move away from using methane gas as soon as possible. Methane, marketed to you as natural gas, has more than 80 times the warming power of carbon dioxide once it reaches the atmosphere. Even though carbon dioxide has a longer lasting effect, methane sets the pace for warming the planet in the near term. Support building and transportation electrification, both personally and policy-wise, as much as you can. And also support public transit improvements and additions that will get people out of their cars. Let your dollars reflect your value and move investments out of polluting industries. I could really go on and on and on with ideas, but I don't want to overwhelm you. Just start with one thing for the earth this Shemitah year. Once you have made a positive change for the planet, tell someone about what you did. Then together, brainstorm about what you both can do next. Biyachad, together, we can make a difference. The Jewish climate organization I mentioned is called Dayenu because Dayenu means enough. We have had enough with political inaction with regard to addressing the climate crisis. But we have enough. We have enough technology and know-how right now to save life on our planet. We just have to have the will to use it, the will to change. And in the Torah, in this Shemitah year, God tells us to change, to give the land a rest. I'm going to sing you a song that you may recognize the melody, especially if you've done any Israeli dancing. I took the song Od Lo Ahavti Dai. I changed one Hebrew word in the chorus to change it to say, I have not given enough. And I added some English verses that are relevant for today's service. I think the words are up there, and you can join me. I'd love it if you would. We only have one planet, its protections in our trust. To have clean air and water for all living things is just. The earth is our Gan Eden, of it we must take care. We must conserve its bounty so that we may share. Od lo ahavti dai, haruach v'hashemesh al panai. Od lo natati dai, ve'im lo achshav imatai. Earth's resources are finite if all we do is take. Disruption of life's balance leaves destruction in its wake. Let's learn to live more simply and give back to the land. A thriving ecosystem gives abundance as God planned. Od lo ahavti dai, haruach v'hashemesh al panai. Od lo natati dai, ve'im lo achshav imatai. Od lo ahavti dai, haruach v'hashemesh al panai. Od lo natati dai, העתידה, ואם לא עכשיו, אימתי. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for those words. We're going to continue on page 570 with counting the Omer.
הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר. Join me here in the English. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer hayom shiva yamim laomer. Today is the 7th day of the Omer.
We turn to page 587 for the Elenu. Please and rise if you are able for the Elenu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם תלתנו לפארת שלו, וגאור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We continue with a prayer of healing.
Please say the words in bold with me. We join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. We join with the earth and with each other to renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. We join with the earth and with each other to celebrate the seas, to rejoice the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. We join with the earth and with each other to recall our destiny, to renew our spirits, to reinvigorate our bodies. We join with the earth and with each other to create the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר והיה אדוני L'melech ha'kol ha'aretz. Bayom hahu yehi Adonai, echad u'shemo echad.
The first law of thermodynamics tells us that no energy gets created in the universe and none gets destroyed. Our energy, our photons and particles, our heat does not die. It's still here with us. Not a bit of our loved ones is gone. It is just less orderly. The congregation offers its condolences to Robin Leopold. We remember the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us: David Molstad, Richard Kipperman, Leslie Phillips, Judy Kalmus, Leo Feingold, Israel Gans, Ron Wolk, Tamara Notan, Mamie Levy, James C. Price, Colette Kaplowitz, Rita Smith, David Corman, J. Guadalupe Chavez, Dr. David K. Burke, Elizabeth Ludwig, Bernard Kennis, Charles Stone, Rima Zareski, Leonard Popowitz, Mark Elliott, Esther Young Wedner, Marjorie Hart, Roseanne Lewitt, Morton J. Friedberg, Estelle Levine, Larry Lisenby, Mark Franklin, and those who died at the season in years past: Iris Beckerman, William Siegel, Jane Jacobs, Bob Katz, Bella Kent, Georgia Clark, Susanna Mary Marlowe, David Weinstein, Joe Rubenstein, Arnold Levine, Ralph Leslie Turner, Martin Orzak, Sylvia Zabridger, Marilyn Zerl. If you would like to add the name of someone who died recently,
You want me to go? Okay. So the congregation offers its condolences to Gloria Chavez on the death of her uncle, Jose Soda, and to Joseph Schwartz on the death of his brother, David Schwartz. And remembering those who have recently been taken from us, we remember Rhoda Fryman. And those who died at this season in years past: Rhoda Jahonet, Stan Berliner, Alvin Alexander, Paul Gutnick, Arthur Harris, Howard Kalmus, Saul Rice, Dora Katz, Robert Kaufman, Faye Leiter, Stuart Sandelman, Francis Vick, Alan Gutstein, Harriet Siegel. And if you would like to add the name of someone who died recently or whose yahrzeit falls at this time of year, we invite you to rise and please say their name aloud now. The memories of all of them are with us. Our grief and sympathy are mingled. Supporting all those who mourn and in memory of the martyrs of the people, we rise as the Kaddish is recited. Kaddish is found on page 598.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divra kirute v'yamlik malkute, v'chayikon v'yomekon v'kayed dekol beit Yisrael, v'gala v'zman kariv v'imrum amen. Yeh shemei rabbah mivarak le'olam olamaya maya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yithazeh. Yet Hadal Daleth Halal Shemedi Kudasha Biriku Leilam and Kol Birkata Vishirata Chushbekata Venekamata Damiran Bielma Biru Amen. Ye'e Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya Bikayim Aleinu Biel Kol Yisrael Bimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Huya Oseh Shalom Aleinu Biel Kol Yisrael Bimru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. And Julia has a few announcements for us this morning.
Good morning. Just a reminder that unvaccinated or partially vaccinated individuals must always wear a mask. Fully vaccinated individuals are strongly encouraged to mask but may enter the sanctuary building without a mask. About 2 hours too late. Okay, some upcoming announcements. Tomorrow, April 24th, the Salty has a car wash and a bake sale fundraiser at our Shir Hadash parking lot at 11 o'clock. Come get your car washed and buy our local teens and grab a treat while you wait. This fundraiser will help Salty to fund more training opportunities for their board, the new teen lounge, and the costs for future Salty and regional youth events. On Monday, the 25th, we have Thinking About Good and Evil, Part 3, via Zoom at 7 p.m. In this last session, led by Rabbi Schwartz, we will examine some of the most salient Jewish ideas about why innocent people seem to suffer, why evil individuals seem to prosper, and God's role in such matters of injustice. Please register online for the Zoom link. Wednesday, the 27th, we have a meditation group via Zoom at 10:30. And Yom HaShoah service will be at Beth David in Saratoga, live or via Zoom at 7 p.m. Please join us in person or online as we remember our past and draw strength from being in community. You can go to bethdavid.org for more information. And on the 29th, Friday, services will be in the sanctuary and live streaming at 7:30 p.m. with Rabbi Schwartz and Cantor Devorah Levy. A preview in May is OMG Cooking with Beth Lee at the Congregation Shir Hadash Kitchen at 2:30 p.m. Beth Lee is a member of Shir Hadash, and she'll be baking and sharing step-by-step recipes of her own with us, including mini cheesecakes, a favorite for Shavuot. Please register online for this event. On May 14th, we have a happy hour and Havdalah at the patio at 6 p.m. Summer is coming, so bring the whole family and join us to welcome a new week and a new season. We will have a taco truck for all to enjoy and babysitting for kids so we can all enjoy adult drinks and schmooze. Please register on the temple calendar. And May 15th is important also, the congregational meeting in the sanctuary and live streaming at 10 a.m. At this annual meeting, we will vote on the new slate of board officers, approve the budget for the upcoming year, and hear updates about welcoming Rabbi Nico, the Cantor celebration, and more. Please go to the temple calendar for more information to register for this meeting. We also have Israeli dancing following our congregational meeting, so please join us. And in the community, April 26th, Yom HaShoah commemoration, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, is at 6 p.m. at San Jose State University Science Building. It's hosted by Hillel of Silicon Valley, together with Club Z, the Consulate General of Israel for the Pacific Northwest, and students supporting Israel at San Jose State University. The commemoration will feature music and singing, a testimonial from a Holocaust survivor, George Elbaum, and a visit to the Beyond Duty exhibit, King Junior Library at the university. Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the service this morning. We have a small but mighty sustainability committee, and I really appreciate Alisa, Aaron, Buff, Bruce, and Robert for their participation, and Diane for being here this morning. If you're interested, please let us know. We would love to expand our numbers so we could do more. Following services, please join us for lunch. We're going to be out in the garden outside of the memorial garden. During lunch, you can taste a variety of honeys, and Sylvia Van Gundy will be speaking to us about bees, and then we will move into the vegetable garden to bless the garden and do a little planting. I need a minute, though, to go get stuff from my car and transport it over there before you can start some of these things. We're going to close our service this morning with Lo Alecha. It is not your duty to complete the work, and neither are you free to desist from it. It's on page 645 in the prayer book. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I want to say thank you to Zibia Van Gundy, who you haven't heard yet, but who's joining us from Placerville area to talk about bees and her experience as a beekeeper.